Good evening. Hope you all had a great end of your week. Today, the market experienced another sell-off, as all three major indices ended in the red due to continuously building tension between the US and China. The Nasdaq lost 0.94%, while the Dow fell 0.68%, and the S&P 500 fell slightly less, 0.62%. In retaliation to recent U.S. actions, China's foreign ministry ordered for the U.S. consulate in Chengdu to shut down. The statement said, quote, "The current situation between China and the U.S. is something the Chinese side does not want to see. The responsibility lies entirely with the U.S. side. We again urge the U.S. side to immediately revoke its relevant wrong decisions to create necessary conditions for the two countries' relationship to return to normal." End quote. U.S. officials have not made clear if the Trump administration plans to comply with the order from China. China has not yet agreed to evacuate their consulate in Houston, even after being ordered to do so. The turmoil between the two superpowers does not stop there for the day. Earlier in the day, a Chinese researcher who took refuge in the Chinese consulate in San Francisco has been charged with lying to investigators about her service in the Chinese military. The FBI concluded that Tang was a uniformed officer of the People's Liberation Army Air Force, after photographs of her were uncovered on electronic media seized in accordance with a search warrant. 3 others with ties to China have been arrested recently as well. These arrests, according to a Justice Department official, are described as, quote, "a microcosm of a broader network of individuals in more than 25 cities," end quote. They also added, quote, "By their very nature, consulates are a base of operations for foreign governments to the United States, including their intelligence services, and it's understood that there will be some activity here by those services. But because of their location within the United States and their status of sovereign territory of a foreign country, they can be exploited and the espionage and influence activities run out of a consulate can rise, ultimately to a level that threatens our national security," end quote. When asked about the current state between the two countries, Chatham House Chair Jim O'Neill said, quote, "Given the degree to which the opinion polls appear to be suggesting how far behind Donald Trump is, I suspect we are going to have this on a recurring, erratic basis between now and the election. I certainly think the rhetoric is going to be repeatedly tough and scary, but whether it will be followed through with deed and action, I'm not so sure. I hope not, because it wouldn't really serve much benefit for the United States or the world," end quote. On Thursday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the U.S. would no longer tolerate Beijing's playbook to usurp global order and called on allies to, quote, "induce China to change," end quote. Prices of gold surged today and reached an all-time high as investors are seeking a safe haven from U.S.-China tensions and fear about the virus pandemic. Mark Haefele, Chief Investment Officer at UBS Global Wealth Management, said, quote, "U.S.-China tensions continue to escalate, which prompted a risk-off move in markets on Thursday and Friday. While we think gold will continue to be supported by rising geopolitical tensions, in our view, the primary drivers of the gold price are its negative correlation to real interest rates and the dollar," end quote. The dollar index, which measures the greenback's performance against 6 other currencies, is down more than 1% this week and has fallen for 5 straight weeks. Mortgage rates hit another record low, as the average rate on a 30-year mortgage reached 2.87%. After the market closed today, President Trump signed 4 executive orders, which are all aimed at lowering the cost of prescription drugs. The orders are designed to bring U.S. drug prices at least on par with their costs overseas. Trump said, quote, "The 4 orders I'm signing today will completely restructure the prescription drug market in terms of pricing and everything else to make these medications affordable and accessible for all Americans. Under my administration, we're standing up to the lobbyists and special interests and fighting back against a rigged system," end quote. The first order targets high insulin prices. The second order would allow states, pharmacies, and wholesalers to import drugs from Canada, where they typically cost less than in the U.S. The third order is aimed at preventing middlemen, or pharmacy benefit managers from pocketing, quote, gigantic discounts, end quote, according to Donald Trump. The fourth order, which Trump said he may not need to implement, would allow Medicare to purchase drugs at the same price other countries pay. Note that even though Trump issued the executive orders, it may take months for the administration to finalize them. Dr. Fauci warned that a vaccine will most likely not be widely available until a few months into 2021. He said, quote, "It is likely that at the beginning of next year, we would have tens of millions of doses available. I think as we get into 2021, several months in, that you would have vaccines that would be widely available," end quote. This is all assuming that one of the potential vaccines proved to be safe and effective by the projected end of December or early next year. Only two sectors ended in the green, which happened to be consumer services and telecommunications, as each gained close to 0.5%. Tech and healthcare were the big losers, as each lost around 1.1%. Every basket of stocks fell today, but value was affected the most. The best day in the S&P 500 was from AMD, which is a computer chip manufacturer. Shares rose by 16.5%, as rival Intel reported that they will be delaying the production of a chip. This allows AMD to take the lead. The second best day was from First Energy Corp, as shares gained 7.59%. This gain comes after the energy company posted an earnings beat, but they did miss on revenue estimates, however only by a minuscule amount. On top of this, they addressed the recent legal issues, saying that the company, quote, acted properly in this matter. We intend to cooperate fully with the investigation to ensure our company and our role in supporting House Bill 6 is understood as accurately as possible, end quote. The worst day in the S&P came from Intel, who had shares fall a horrific 16.24%. This comes as Intel posted a double beat for earnings, but announced a 6-month delay in one of their computer chips. Due to this news, Intel experienced a whole set of downgrades from banks. Bernstein even had to say, quote, ordinarily we frown on moving ratings directly on an earnings night, but this, our 45th Intel earnings call, was the worst we have seen in our career covering the company, and brings the structural issues we have been talking about for years directly to the forefront, end quote. The other poor day came from Western Digital, which is a computer hardware company. Shares fell 7.17%, but it is not clear as to why. Getting into earnings, we'll start off with Verizon, ticker symbol VZ, which is a large telecommunications company. Verizon beat on top and bottom line estimates, but not by a large margin. Non-GAAP EPS came in at $1.18 per share, which was better than expected by just 3 cents. Revenue was $30.4 billion for the quarter and beat by $420 million. This was down by 5.3% on a yearly basis. There's not much else to say about these earnings besides that they were good but nothing noteworthy. Investors liked the earnings beat regardless, and its shares ended the day up 1.79%. Next, we have American Express, ticker symbol AXP, which is a multinational financial services corporation. The company had mixed earnings, as they beat EPS estimates and missed revenue estimates. GAAP EPS came in at 29 cents per share for the quarter, which was better than estimates by 35 cents. Revenue was down a large 29.1% on a yearly basis, as the company missed revenue estimates by $570 million, and they recorded revenue of $7.68 billion. This drop in revenue is primarily reflecting a decline in card member spending and a lower average discount rate compared with the prior year. Their CEO said, quote, spending volumes, which declined to their lowest point this quarter in April, gradually improved in May and June, with small businesses being the most resilient, end quote. Shares ended the day down 1.39%. Next, we have Schlumberger, ticker symbol SLB, which is an oilfield services company. Their earnings were pretty good this morning. Non-GAAP EPS beat estimates by 6 cents, as they recorded a gain of 5 cents per share. Revenue was $5.36 billion for the quarter, which missed estimates by only $20 million, but did represent a decline in revenue of 35.2% on a yearly basis. Notably, the company's free cash flow came in far better than expected, which was very good to hear. Schlumberger kept their dividend in line with previous, as their forward yield sits at 2.59%. The company also announced that they cut 21,000 workers, and they also plan to permanently remove $1.5 billion per year of structural costs through a reorganization. Investors liked everything the company had to say this morning, and shares ended the day up a slight 0.93%. Next, we have NextEra Energy, ticker symbol NEE, which is the largest electric utility company by market cap. The company missed big on revenue estimates, but still managed to beat on EPS. Non-GAAP EPS finished the quarter at a gain of $2.61 per share, which was better than expected by just 9 cents. Revenue tells us a different story though. Revenue came in at $4.2 billion for the quarter, which missed estimates by a horrid $1.12 billion, and represents a decline in revenue of 15.5% on a yearly basis. Shares ended the day down, but only by 0.26%. Lastly, we have Honeywell International, ticker symbol HON, which is a company that focuses on the following areas: aerospace and building technologies, performance materials, and safety and productivity solutions. The company posted better than expected earnings all across the board this morning. Non-GAAP EPS was beat by 2 cents, as they recorded a gain of $1.26 per share. For revenue, Honeywell recorded $7.48 billion for the top line, which was a decrease of 19% on a yearly basis, and topped estimates by $200 million. The company decided to not provide investors with guidance, which disappointed them, and shares fell 2.8% for the day. That is all that I have for tonight. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again on Monday.